welcome to something you guys are really into, which is our group text and Behind the Velvet Rope co-branded roundup gossip sesh with me and the incomparable
David
Yontif. I know, but I'm just looking. You have a white microphone now?
I always had one, but maybe you just didn't notice. Isn't this a cool microphone?
Oh my God, it's
super
cool.
It used to be silver, and then it was having issues, and I said, I'm going to get a new microphone, and they come in like pink. Now, I almost got the pink one, let me just tell everybody here, but the white is like, matches my decor. I'm loving it.
Oh, I love the white.
Yeah, the white is cool. I'm also loving it, but thank you for noticing.
You know, it's in the details.
It is.
So we have so much to go over, starting with, in the midst of all these other strikes, Bethenny Frankel has launched a lawsuit or fired a shot across the bow of NBC, Comcast, Bravo, the whole conglomerate that they're calling the reality reckoning.
Yeah.
And SAG actually spoke out supporting her, and she's got Mark Garagos and Brian Friedman. And what they're saying is unfair working conditions, back-end participation, and residuals for reality stars.
I mean, it makes logical sense, right? I mean, that's kind of what SAG said. They're like, why wouldn't we kind of reach out and support this any way we can? It's the same thing we're fighting for. I don't know. I'm going back and forth with this of like, is this Bethenny the businesswoman and she smells money and there's money to be made? Is this Bethenny of like, I don't need money? And like, look, if she could really change this and like unionize reality TV stars, like she will go down in history. We'll be talking about that change. Like, remember the last time there was a change in media? We could think of a million things, right? I mean, I think that's part of why she's doing this. Does it matter why she's doing this? What do you think about all this, Melissa?
I think, again, I'm a little bit of two minds about this. One is she's got enough fuck you money to do this. And if she's never on another reality show, it does not matter. So is she doing this out of the goodness of her heart after seeing, which we'll get to, what just happened on Below Deck, and it is a day of reckoning? We'll get into what the problems are. Or is it, I don't even think it's a cash grab, or is it a publicity stunt? I like to hope that this particular writer's strike and actor's strike, and everyone now has become so dependent on reality programming, that this might have just been the best opportunity to do it. Because the only things that are allowed to be in production right now are reality and competition, obviously news and documentaries. So right now is the most leverage. It's going to be fascinating to see who she becomes the face of this, but who it's going to really affect and who's getting in line with her, because Dorinda and Candy said they won't join it.
Yeah. And I mean, well, that's the thing. And Leah Black from the Miami Housewives just recently spoke out, to your point exactly, just to basically say Bethenny has fuck you money. And what happens to all the people that join this? And I mean, look, I don't think it's going to blacklist them just because their name is on a sign me up. But that's the thing. When all this is over, if this is a total waste of time and it falls apart, it's a disaster, Bethenny will be fine. And what about all those other people, most of them of the reality TV world, that need the money for their next gig? This is how they earn a living. What do they do? I mean, so that is a valid point. I mean, that's the thing. Like Candy said she wasn't joining. Yes, Dorinda says she wasn't joining. If this is just a bunch of people, I have yet to see housewives and reality TV stars that are currently working. I know from 90 Day Fiancé, I forgot who, I think his name is Big Ed, just spoke out and said, like, I'm not joining, I'm currently working. So, I mean, is anyone going to join this who is currently working with a network? I don't see any names on there that are currently working.
I'm kind of on the fence, because reality stars, even if they decide to be a part of this and they then cannot work, if they are a big enough name, they'll come out and blast, the networks that say we won't hire you anymore because you did this. It's the smaller ones, kind of like what's going on with the actors and the writers. It's not the A-listers that this really affects. It's everyone down. And, just to go back so people understand, when people get hired on these shows, just like they do on sitcoms and dramas, the first thing you do is sign a 7-year contract. And with actors, it's so bad that before they even screen test you, you sign this contract. So, and that's why you hear all the big stories when somebody quits because it's a money thing. It's usually a very unfair contract. Completely on the side of the network now. Is it the dog wagging the tail? Is it the tail wagging the dog? I mean, you can argue both sides. But I think for a lot of these lesser known reality stars, they do deserve something. They do deserve when Bravo runs wall to wall. Yesterday was like wall to wall Below Deck, and then it transferred into Housewives. It is so big that they kind of should get a bonus, something.
And, I know one of the other things that she brought up is the Bethenny clause, which is named after her. This clause, when she signed her contract, she notoriously only got $7,250 her first season. And she's like, I'll sign that, but I want this clause out. And she took out that clause that says, like you said, it's a very one-sided contract that says you have a right to everything that I earn from a side business. She took it out. Presumably she sold Skinny Girl that portion of it for $120 million, although I heard that's not really the number. Regardless. And so they got none of it, and now they have this clause in. So, I mean, that is really... and I don't know what that, I assume that extends to like Countess Luann's Cabaret. I mean, anytime you write a book, when does that end? I mean, is that in perpetuity? I don't know. When you're off the show in 5 years, and I see it both ways, but she really wants to get that stricken, which I kind of agree with that.
Well, I've had to do that in different things where suddenly they're like, and we have, monetary rights to everything you do, blah, blah. And it is a standard clause, and you just have to get it taken out. And I think sometimes they put it in just so they can leave something else in. So what we used to do on Fashion Police with legal is we knew there would be jokes that they wouldn't like that we really liked. So we'd put in worse ones so that they felt like they had something to take out, and we'd still get in the one that we wanted. So I think it also is a little bit of that going on. But yeah, I don't sign those things that say you own part of this or you're my partner for perpetuity and all these things. And what we also talk about very often for a lot of these, especially the Housewives, as my mother used to say, this show is your